Hello, my friends. It's Andia. Oh my
you've already
gosh.
messed up.
Andy and Hetty is what I normally say. And I was trying to stop myself. Hello, it's Andy coming to you live from Yorba, California for the Andy Falco Show. I have my guest here, Leandra Blades, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to jump into it pretty fast. But what I want to do is just let you know what we want to do is talk about some of these questions that are coming out in the community because there seems to be a lot of confusion and rumors and things that have just taken flight and in some circles have become truth.
Yes.
And as much as we try to hammer them down, and I say we again, this causes people problems, but I'm just a parent.
Right.
You and I don't get that chance to get together very often and to catch up on things. So I want to take this opportunity because I hear these things coming at me, and you're busy doing what you're doing with your kids, just like all of us other parents are.
Yes.
And so I do want to make sure and get to the bottom of some of this stuff. So I'm going to do my best to not get distracted by some of the things that are happening to me in the community, just simply because I'm trying to answer some of the questions as the best that I can, and somehow that causes people to do things, and well, I'll save that for another time, to the best of my ability. But first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. We got kids in cheerleading and lacrosse. Lacrosse is in full swing. I'm also the announcer at the games and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it just doesn't seem like I have much time.
Right.
I have also a business that I run. I know
Right.
that people probably find that hard to believe, but I have a business.
That you have customers?
Yeah, I got so many. Yes, that people actually trust me. But yes, I testify all over the country, and I've been flying like crazy. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And most of all, I'm just doing a little banter here because it takes a while for people to log on, and I really hate for anybody to miss it.
Right.
But if you are seeing this now and you're on, share it out into your social medias. I love saying that because we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Rumble. So whatever platform you're watching this on, if you share it out to your audience, it will help hopefully some of the people in the community to hear this. And I would also encourage those of you that are watching from other jurisdictions and districts, even outside of California, because the things we're discussing here are surely happening in your districts, and you may want to get a little bit more information or reach out to somebody and say, hey, I like what they're doing over there.
Right.
Or I don't like what they're doing out there. And that would be great. Right. All right. So let's get to it. And I have our first question, which is the one that really seems to be the thing I see most often. And that is that there's chaos currently in the district. And it is in a lot of different forms. It's that the superintendent is causing chaos because he's moving too quickly, or the three school board members of Leandra, Todd, and Sean are causing so much chaos that nothing can get done at PYLUSD Placentia Yorba Unified School District. Is there chaos in the district?
No.
Okay, next question. No. What do you think this is? What is causing this type of statement to take such flight?
So, like what you just said, with the superintendent causing chaos because he's getting so much done, is that chaos?
No, no.
Or does change make people uncomfortable?
It can make people uncomfortable.
It makes people uncomfortable.
Right.
And so I would say that there's no chaos from what we're doing as a board. I believe that there are outside entities causing chaos. Are union reps of Apple absolutely causing chaos? Yes. Are people who don't agree necessarily with the board majority, are they causing chaos? Absolutely. Like, look at the statements that we're hearing, not only online, but like even when they get a chance to get in front of the media. They're not talking about the issue at hand, about what's going on over here, but they're talking about what is, in their mind, what's happening, what they want to put out, their own propaganda, their own, interests. And so I would say no, but, obviously we've seen the graph that I posted last Friday that talked about, the different principles. And I think you have it here, Andy. But
this one?
Yes, this one. And then, so I think too, if we move over to what's the other one that shows like the different bars, like, yes. And so how were we not having walkouts and having complete chaos in 2020 to 2021 versus right here in 23 to 24?
Yeah, because there were in 2020, 21, there were 12 principals resigning, retiring, or their contracts are not being renewed. 12.
Exactly. And then also too, we need to point out that this was also the time period that Plutko retired and Candy Plahy retired, I believe, right in this area right here. And so can we say, like, now you've lost, you know, a deputy superintendent, a superintendent, and there was 11 or 12 principals, you know, that movement, I just call it movement. So is it accurate to say that suddenly, you know, we're in these uncharted waters, you know, we've never been here before, when just a few years ago, that's where we were. But it was because when you have 5 union endorsed, controlled board members, the union's happy. You know where it goes. You
no matter
could
what
be
they do.
having, yeah, no matter what happens, no matter what's there's no narrative to run. Now it's an election year, and we have a narrative to run against a superintendent who is student centered, and then against a board that's student centered. But not only that, too, watching everybody around us, all these districts around us, and we're seeing all of these teachers being, you know, fired, 100, 200s. How can you not move fast to try to create innovation and try to create new programs that will attract the community back in? Because let's face it, our community has left for charter schools, they've left for private schools, they've left for all this. So how do you, unless you move, you can't move in 4 years, because who knows what it will be like in 4 years.
Right.
But you have to do things quickly to appeal to the community to bring them back. And what we're trying to do is I think people are coming back because I've actually had people say, we're coming back because we like what you're doing in our district. So we have that. So then I don't understand why people don't want to just take a, kind of like just look back, like, why is the sky falling? Because we have a computer science charter. Why is the sky falling? Because we have a sports institute, which I might add about the thing is now Fullerton has just announced like a school in Fullerton. Oh, we're going to do a sports institute too.
What a horrible idea for Fullerton to do that.
That's terrible. It's awful. How could they think about doing this?
Right.
But this is the whole thing, is you either go do it and you lead, or you're just going to be following. And that's not where we want to be. We want to lead.
Okay. And make sure you guys comment. If you have a question that I maybe didn't ask, I will make sure and look through the comments to see if there's something that somebody asked that I can get to. Understand, sometimes a lot of comments begin to come through. And so it's hard to keep up because, again, we're on several different platforms here. So, but that doesn't mean I don't want you to put in a comment. Put in a comment whether you agree, disagree, whatever it is. That's fine. We love to have those people that are disagreeing, so that maybe we can have that conversation.
Right.
And so I've heard on several of the platforms and some of the screenshots that people have sent me is that there's 17 principals being fired. Are there 17 principals being fired?
Not that I know of.
How do you not know this?
I don't know. Apparently, according to Nextdoor and Lloyd Porter, who is a huge supporter of the union, he said 10 administrators were being fired the other day. And I said, well, what are the 10? And he says, well, you know. No, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Doesn't the school board have a vote on whether or not to renew somebody's contract?
Yes, we do.
So you've not voted on 17 different principals not having their contracts renewed?
Not that I know of. What okay. We, the closed session votes, as has been revealed, have been 5-0 in, my January, my February, and my March readout were all 5-0 votes. Okay. And so, there's no disputing that. There's no taking it back. There's no trying to, change the narrative on that. Mm-hmm. Like, it is what it is. I can't really go into further detail from that, but I think it's just one of those things too, that people that don't have the correct information go in and try to create some type of narrative, just to cause chaos, just to cause panic. Because are we seeing that? Are we seeing all of these? Are we seeing? Wasn't it 7? Did it go 17 principals? And then it went, oh, well, no, it's 17 admin. Yeah. And then now it's a 10 admin. Yeah. So, at least the numbers are decreasing. But 17 principals would have been half of our schools.
Right.
And so that was kind of.
But again, back when it was 12, I was around. I was at the school board meetings. I didn't see a bunch of signs. No. I didn't see, the union going into Esperanza or El Dorado or Yorba Linda High School saying, kids, our beloved principals are being fired by the school board. You need to protest. I didn't see any of that.
Right. And too, I was thinking back to my high school days, and it was a shorter time to reflect than yours, but I will say that I think I was thinking back, and I think when I you like that one,
Yeah.
I was thinking back when I think we had 2 assistant principals, and I think we had 2 principals when I was in high school. And did I care? No,
I
I
don't even
didn't
know their
care.
names.
Like, yeah, it was like, I mean, my dad worked in the school that I worked, the high school, so he usually was friendly with everybody and stuff, but he never made any comments like, this is terrible, this is like, this is destruction, and
Right.
it's just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, moving.
People move on.
Yeah, people move on.
And sometimes people do bad things.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
That
just
is
the way
true.
it is. I want to go back just really quick. I had a thought, and you completely distracted me with my age.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that I respect what I respect a lot about you is that you and I've known each other for a while now, since the early days.
Yes.
And early on, I would ask you on occasion, "Hey, what's happening?" And you would say, "I can't tell you."
Yes.
So I've stopped asking, but I do respect that because both of us come from a law enforcement background,
Yes.
and I remember going up into crime task force, which is a more of a high end criminal task force type of thing, and I would go to ask questions, and they couldn't. So we understand that structure of
Right.
Need to know
Right.
type of a situation, and I want to just make sure and let you know that your integrity is awesome.
Thank you.
And again, since you and I have known each other, I was hoping on occasion you may slip. But so I appreciate you very much. And
Thank you.
it just, I always walk away going, yeah, I guess I guess you can't tell me. And then are there hundreds of teachers being fired? I've heard all kinds of numbers, everything from 2 or 3 to hundreds. Are they being fired?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that the reason they're not being fired is because of obviously our growth. Like we have 400, and I think it was 2016 or 2017, they started projecting that we needed to have every year to have 400 students, like negative, like we're declining. Like, so we have to plan for 400 less students every year. So this is the first year that we actually are planning for 400 more students. So we're really not declining anymore. But what I will say is, during the COVID years and the one-time money, what districts were doing, and whether it was, right or wrong, is they were hiring a lot of temps. And so it was kind of one of those things the other day. It kind of sounded cruel because obviously, like, teachers are not, like it's obviously a profession and stuff, and seasonal workers elsewhere, it's just a different thing. But if we look at that type of thing, we have temp teachers whose contracts are running out. So, they may have signed for 1 year, they might have signed for 2 years, but that's it. And so they're not allowed to be a part of the union. They don't have, like, I guess, the same rights as you would say as like our teachers, that are permanent teachers. They're not even classified as teachers. They're temps. And so if we're hearing any of that, it's the temps that contracts have run out, and we can't renew it because that was one-time money that we were given by the state, or I don't think it was federal, but I think it was state. So so I noticed that when that narrative was all these teachers are being fired, and they said, oh well, it's like temps. And then my thought was, if I ever take, like, say, a seasonal job, or I take a job somewhere and they say, this is you're gonna have a contract for 6 months and then you're done, do I ever say to everybody at the end, like, I was fired? No, I don't say I was fired. My contract ran out.
One of the common jobs people have around here are working at Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm. I worked at Knott's Berry Farm. And there were full-time jobs and there were temp jobs.
Right.
Summer, it gets a lot busier and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't remember anybody like holding protests, like
Right.
all the temporary people being let go at the end of summer.
Right.
Everybody knew that they were going to be released at the end of summer.
Right.
It's baked into the cake.
And I'm sure that there's hope. I'm sure, like, at the end of that, you're hoping, like, well, maybe I could get a job, or maybe there'll be positions that are opening, and I wish that there were positions for everybody, but it was a temp position. And so I think that has to be clarified, is that, they weren't even classified. Because I did ask questions. I went down to the district and I sat down in HR. I said, okay, explain this to me. And they said they are not even classified as a teacher. It is a temp position. And so I think that that's one thing that needs to be out there in the community, is it's not these teachers being fired. It's actually temp workers that have reached the end of their contract.
The great thing is that we're seeing is the enrollment, like you said, is going up.
Yes.
And that is a great tool to use when hiring temps, and I did this at Falco Canine Academy where I'd hire interns and say, you know what, we are growing. If you come in as an intern, as opposed to an intern that's just going to come in and just spend, you know, their couple of weeks working for us and then leave.
Right.
I'm going to tell, hey, you work hard and you show an interest in this, and I can see that you are truly passionate about training dogs. You know, I may hire you because we are growing.
Right.
It's the same thing here. We are one of the few school districts that are seeing growth.
Right.
All the ones around us are showing declines.
Right.
So what a great opportunity we have. I've been seeing like more and more every day openings in PYLUSD. So I think it's a great opportunity for the district to say, hey, you come here and you work hard, you may have a full-time job.
Yeah. And I think too, we should also be like, the reason that you open up, you know, a district charter school, which let's like clarify, a district charter is, you know, but one of the reasons you open the district charter is because if the school district you are in outside of us does not offer the program that we offer, they have to release you and they have to allow you to come to the school. And so the more innovation and the more programs we can offer that nobody else around us is offering, the more students we can attract, the more jobs we can offer, and the less people have to be fired. And so I don't understand why the union is pushing this narrative they're pushing. They should be happy. They should be telling, you know, like their teachers, like, look, they're really trying to save jobs and they're trying to, you know, attract more students. So there's job stability. But that's not the message that these teachers are receiving. And I actually feel like really bad. Like when I hear the messages and when I get the panic text and when I hear this, I actually feel sorry for them. I feel very, very sorry for the misinformation that these teachers are and this that these teachers are getting and the stress that they have to live under because of the chaos being caused.
I know you can't answer this, but that's exactly what my next question was going to be, as that I have been posting articles of what's happening in Anaheim, losing 110 teachers to start because of lack of enrollment, to San Diego losing 400 teachers.
Pasadena 200.
Pasadena 200. So I've been sharing those, and that's happening all around us. Orange County, LA County, Riverside County, they're all losing. Coachella Valley is losing teachers. Why is, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, why isn't the union looking at what's happening here saying, you were just telling me 0 are being lost, full-time teachers are being lost. Why put together a protest of children? Why is the union doing this? I don't, it's APLE. Linda Mannion's been around for a very long time. You would think she'd be giddy with saying, hey, we have a great school district going on here. We're not losing anybody. Sorry, I went on a rant there, but it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I would say that it's because the CTA is political and we don't fit the politics that they're looking for. And we don't push, you know, if you go to the CTA website, what you see is not conferences to help better educate children. It's about social justice. It's about anything, you know, but that, and how to get that into your school district and how teachers can bring that in and how things like that. And so I don't necessarily think that myself, Sean, or Todd fall under that category of, you know, this is who the union, like we may be doing what's right and saving jobs, but politically we don't fit their criteria. That's my belief.
Okay.
My personal belief.
Okay. It's very confusing. I think we answered Yvonne's question. Is that accurate? She was asking about the temps. I think she's on her phone because sometimes when you type on your phone, words go missing or get corrected. But I think you answered as far as the temps.
Right.
So let's make sure. I just didn't want that to go by. And so are the 3 conservative trustees, again, I'm just going to say Leandra, Todd, and Sean, attempting to insert a religious curriculum into the school district, into the schools in the district?
No. And
what? And that's all I keep hearing.
Well, yes. And so I did think the other day when I heard this, I said, wait, what? Because how do we do this? Because basically what happens with curriculum is our district, you know, the, you know, cabinets and whatever, the directors, they get together, they look at the state, you know, what the state curriculum is on offering, and then they choose it. And then it kind of like trickles down through all the committees, and then, you know, the processes, the pilots, and it comes to us. And so I have asked, in fact, I've even asked this particular person, you know, in one of my videos, to please tell me how I'm doing that and what curriculum I've pushed in and how I did it, because I wouldn't know how to do that. It has to, it's such a transparent process, and the community, everybody can view it. And so I would just love to know how I'm doing that. And especially too with our district curriculum has to align with our supplemental curriculum. And so if I did try to push something, I would be violating our policy on things like that. So it just doesn't make any sense. But I do think, so we will say it was and I heard this again, I was starting to hear a buzz online about, that we want to make every school charters, and we want to make them religious charters and then private charters. And I go, well, I don't even know how to possibly do that, first of all. But I did hear in the Channel 5 interview on the walkout, there was a parent, Patricia Hanzo, who said she just went straight, didn't talk one thing about what was going on over here and what the students' concern was. It was Dr. Cherniss and Leandra Blades are trying to bring in religion into the curriculum. And so I have said, please show me where I have done that. And it's been crickets. It's been almost a week now that I've asked this question, but please show me where I've done this. Show where I have attempted to do this, because I haven't even attempted to do it. I realize I am a school board member in a public school. Right. And so, how and why would I do this? It just doesn't make any sense, but it's great talking points if you have uninformed voters, uninformed community members, and then they go, oh my gosh. And so, yeah, but please show me. I double dog dare you. Yeah. Show me.
Patricia Hanzo said it must be true. Oh. She really likes me too. I was thinking about Dr. Cherniss. I've met with him a couple times. My wife and I were able to go into the school district and just meet him when he first got hired. Right. And then, seeing on his Monday messages of the good news that's happening. And I don't even know if he believes in God. So I don't know how he gets wrapped up into this whole thing. I don't even understand how this can be pushed when that's not even something that he's even spoke of or anything. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. But so the answer is no, not even in the charter school.
No.
Don't get mad at me. I'm just asking the questions.
No, I don't even know how to do it. And into Beth Fisher over at, Bernardo Yorba, she's been super transparent and walking people through and showing them the curriculum. And in fact, too, I think was it our February or March? It was one of the two. I think it was February. We were starting to approve curriculum. Yeah. And so you can go look at the curriculum that we're approving, and you can see as it's being approved, and you can see that there's no besides standard religion, there are some middle school textbooks and high school, history and stuff like that talk about religion. Of course that stuff is in there, but are we pushing? I don't even know what they think we're pushing. Are we pushing devotionals? What are we pushing? I don't know.
You're not hiding the curriculum from parents?
Well, that would be super hard to do.
Okay, well, apparently you're not being transparent. Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that question in a minute. How many teachers, speaking of the charter, how many teachers at Bernardo Yorba voted in the affirmative to transition to a charter school?
I don't know the exact number on that because I forgot. But I think they may have said it at the board meeting, but I think there was only maybe 2 who, dissented or didn't vote or whatever happened, but it's very, very, very small number. I would say 2 to 3.
So in the 90 percentile.
Yeah, it was 90 percentile to transition into a district charter school.
So how could we be having this narrative that's out there that there's so many teachers that are scared and frightened about this charter school idea when you have nearly 90% of the teachers at least one school voting for it? Wouldn't it be something less than that?
Well, I think too, so what I have just recently heard was because there was a lot of, obviously it's out in the community that there was a vote done at Glenview the other day. And so that vote was similar to Bernardo's. And so after that happened, because they're really not, it's not something the union is supposed to be weighing in on. And so they don't really know the information, if they're going there for the vote or what led up to it. And so I heard, and I was told that the union has said that they're contacting every school and have said if these certain people show up and take a vote, to vote no. And so that's why I'm thinking, because you sit here, because yesterday I was on my way to the district for the principal for a day luncheon, and my phone was blowing up. They're going to Travis Ranch. Travis Ranch is turning into a charter, and I was like, what is going on here? And I was like, no, I've never even heard that. And so they're on their way over there to vote, or they're going there tomorrow. And I was thinking, well, most of the principals and the district staff are at the luncheon right now. But then that's what I was told. And so I think what's happening is you have maybe the reps or whoever it is going into school sites and saying, the message from the union is when they come to your school, vote no. So if everybody in our district, every school thinks that they're coming in for a vote, then that would be a feasible fear that, yes, the whole district is going to turn into one big charter.
Wow.
So, so that's what I've heard. I don't even know if it's appropriate for the union to go ahead and say, if this ever comes, to go vote no. I don't even know if that's appropriate. But one thing that is interesting is the district charters. The teachers still have the opportunity to be a part of the union, just like they do now. So the union's not losing any teachers.
Membership.
They're not membership. They're not losing that. It's just basically, I think, a lack of control, because there's no, they don't have control over the charter.
Yeah, they hate that.
Yeah.
Apparently. So there's a lot of different ways that this question comes in, and this is the simplest way I could put it, because there's so many things that are confusing. And of course, you're more than welcome to go off on some of the other things that are being talked about. But is the charter school controlled by an outside organization?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I can't even tell you. I just got I don't know what it was, 25 screenshots from a platform that I'm not allowed in, apparently. That they're saying all these crazy things that there's Nephilim going to be put into these schools. I'm sorry, just do that. It's a Christian reference.
Oh, I didn't know what it was. Well, rest assured, then that's not being put into school, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
But kind of smooth this out if you could. It is about. Is PYLUSD in control of the charter?
Yes.
Or is there an outside organization that runs the whole thing?
No, PYLUSD is in charge of the charter. The board, in fact, we couldn't, because it was a district charter and it was an outside charter. We lost like millions of dollars in grant money that a lot of the other charters can get from the state, because we are so involved in the charter. So the board oversees the charter. The district works with, obviously our district works with the curriculum and it's our staff, our principals, our teachers, our students. It's all of that. So I don't quite know. Well, I always say I don't, but then I do know. I do know. This whole OCCA and the CRLA, and people push it, and I believe they push it to confuse people, because obviously the OCCA never even petitioned us. They basically gave us a letter, maybe a 1 or 2 page letter. And it was basically we would like to lease some space, pay you for space.
OCCA being Orange County
Classical Academy. And so they went in and they started looking around, and there wasn't the space for them. And so that was their answer. There's no space for you. So they took their, they never even petitioned. They never tried to Prop 39, and they went home. During this time that the OCCA was looking, the CRLA, I can't recall right now what their initials are, but they were looking as well. And we got a fat booklet for their petition. And then they came and we said no, based on, they couldn't tell us where, they didn't want any space in our district, but they couldn't tell us where they were going to be located. But then still, if you approve, you have to oversee them. And so I said no based on the space. And me and Dr. Cherniss went to the Orange County Board of Education to tell them, based on their lack of transparency about where this will be in the space, to vote no. And the last I heard from them was that they're trying to find space, but it's not in our district, because I think a couple months ago it was Rose Drive was going to be the spot for them, and you see all these emails. I mean, they send us all the emails from the union, so we know what they're saying, and we know what they're doing, and we know why the fear is instilled, but we just don't know why, after all of this, why people are still caught up and why they're still listening to this.
I don't know.
So, yeah, I don't know.
It's a little whack. Will there be other schools transitioning into a charter school? Sorry, misspelled.
I don't know. So obviously there was obviously there was a vote at Glenview, and that's no secret or surprise. And so the majority obviously was the same as Bernardo. But the next process is Glenview has to come forward with a petition to the board, just like Bernardo Yorba did when Beth Fisher went to the podium and answered a bunch of questions and presented the petition. So that has to be done, and that isn't on the board. That's not on the agenda for April. And so there's a process that you have to go through. And then once the petition's, presented, then, the following month or wherever, maybe 2 months is when the board votes on that. So can I say if it will go that way? I don't know. I don't know what will be brought forward. So I can't say yes or no. And then the Esperanza question that everybody's, talking about is, will that be where these kids from Orange County Orange County School of Computer Science.
Careful.
is that the place where they'll be fed into? And everyone continues to say, well, Esperanza is going to turn into one big fat charter school. Well, no, Esperanza, that's never anything that I've heard of, is that, if they were ever looking for a high school, I've never heard that entire high school will turn into a charter school. So Esperanza is not going to become a charter school. Now, will they possibly, is there a high school that maybe has extra space so they can house the Orange County School of Computer Science, students there, or let them go to school there? I don't know. But I can tell you that I've asked, because it was such a fear of people. I said, would our high schools ever go to a full charter school? And the answer was absolutely not.
Okay.
So we should not be afraid of that at all. And we should just,
Seems to me there's people out there that just try to dream up as many things as they can throw, instead of allowing the process to happen.
Right.
To take what it is that we have now,
right,
and let's see how well it goes.
Right.
I mean, Beth Fisher is amazing. I interviewed her, so you can see that interview. And I know lots of people are saying, well, she's never said anything about the new charter school. It was an 1.5-hour interview that I did with her. It's out there. And I know that the district even put it out there for people to listen to. So it is out there. I think this is a fantastic opportunity. We have a school that's already committed to do it. Let's hear about what happens there and see how it works out. We do know that enough children enrolled through their parents that it's full. There's a waiting list to get into that school. So there's apparently a lot of people that are excited about it.
Right. And I did hear last night, I guess, I got a couple texts from some Glenview parents last night who were, asking questions like, is this voted on, or where, it hasn't been voted on, or when is it going to be voted on? And I don't know. I haven't seen the petition. I haven't heard the petitions coming forward yet. But when you start to hear the fear and you see it on social media and people start to get upset because they think Esperanza is no longer going to be Esperanza, then you have to ask the questions. And so, I asked this morning, would our high schools ever transition to be a full charter school? And the answer was no.
Okay. And I do see some questions coming into the comments. I'll get to them after we get through these planned questions. But very good questions. Continue with those questions and continue with the comments that are coming in. There is a criticism about the district and Dr. Alex Cherniss not being transparent. What are your thoughts on the transparency?
I think he is so transparent. And when have we ever received Monday messages from a superintendent?
Never.
He's out at these school sites every Thursday and Friday. In fact, I'm receiving emails from several of the school sites that they've never seen a superintendent at the school site so much. Like, I think he's already been to one this year, like 4 times, and he talks to them, talks to teachers, talks to people. And as far as like transparency, I mean, I hear, he takes people's phone calls. People have his cell phone number. You email him, he'll respond. He's out in the community. And so I don't understand where the lack of transparency is. And I think what they try to say, oh, he's not transparent. Well, he can't be transparent in employment issues. Like, that's the law.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, that's why I felt really bad for these kids at Esperanza who are out there saying, we're not going to stop until you're transparent. You tell us what we need to know. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to violate the law, so you'll stop walking out. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, come on. So there's all these things, like, because they have tried to cause the chaos and they've tried to make it appear that the board is not being transparent. That's where I believe this lack of transparency comes. It's the noise. Like, we always talked about the noise. Like, let's get rid of the noise.
Right.
So I think we've gotten rid, like, we're trying to get rid of the noise, but then people are creating new noise. Like, they're changing the station, maybe. I don't know. But,
Yeah. Or when you answer their fear or the fear they created, and you put an end to it, they have to come up with something immediately.
right.
And quite often it's,
Right.
well, you guys aren't being transparent. I just told you.
Yeah.
I just shared with you.
Yeah.
And then, gosh, I can go so many directions in this, but my oldest daughter, who's now 29, obviously she's been in the school district. And so I've essentially had children in the school district since like 2008 or something like that. And I'm going to tell you as a parent that I've never seen such transparency. So when I had kept seeing these signs, I'm just going, are you even asking? And then I would send a message in the places that they do allow me to exist, and say, well, did you talk to Dr. Alex Cherniss? Because he goes, I'm never talking to that horrible person. And I go, well, then I don't understand where you come off by saying he's not being transparent. You've not bothered to call him. I said, well, if you don't like him, how about the deputy superintendent?
Isaiah?
Yes.
Who doesn't like Isaiah? He's amazing. He'll sing to you. I mean, he's amazing. So everybody, if you think Dr. Cherniss is terrible, which he's not, he's very, very smart, and he's extremely student centered. He's amazing. But then, like, if you don't like him, then Isaiah, you gotta like Isaiah. Yeah. There's just no not liking the guy.
I didn't even know who he was, and I saw him in the hallway over at one of the school board meetings, and I go, well, he's just well dressed. He comes well dressed.
Yes.
As a parent at the school board meetings, and he goes, hey, how are you? And he shakes my hand. He goes, what's your name? I go, Andy. I go, and then he's up there he's now our new superintendent. I go, oh, yeah, without even knowing who I am, it was like at church when you sit next to somebody. He was just so happy to see you, and I'm glad that you took the time to be there as a parent. But get a hold of him. Get a hold of Leandra. I'm sure they would say the same thing. The same people. But Todd Frazier.
Yes.
Everybody likes Todd Frazier.
Todd is like Isaiah.
Yeah, I can't stand Todd.
Like everybody likes Todd.
Yeah. Plus, he's a Steelers fan.
I know, he's so wrong.
Which I told him I'd watch his new podcast, but he has to remove the Steelers helmet that's in the background.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, that's the first thing I saw. Oh. I didn't hear a word he said because of the
focused on the Steelers.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, the transparency, it was one of the dumbest, and I promised I wouldn't use stupid or dumb for a very long time.
We were trying to be positive.
I'm trying to be positive, but that really is one of the silliest comments about lack of transparency. And I'm so sad that the students were told to say that by the union members or whoever's telling them that, because it's so not true. They could contact somebody in the superintendent's executive board and they would get an answer, I am sure.
Well, and I think too, what was interesting was that when they came to the dais, they said that this was all about politics. Like, where do high school students get that this is all about politics? It was just a strange way to go about it. And then you found out on Twitter too.
Yep.
And so that was a little unusual too.
But then their messaging changed. Yes. It was about one thing in the beginning, about the firing of beloved principals. And then it was about firing of all the teachers. And then it was about parents' rights, that they didn't want parents to have rights.
And that changed that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, that was towards I think that was on the day or the day before that I saw. So it continued to change. All right, next question. When there is a question or concern about something the parent heard, where can they go for answers? I know we kind of talked about that, but where can they go? I mean, I want the parent who's like, I don't understand all the stuff that's happening out there. I hear there's chaos. And now where should they go when they hear that?
They can go to the same people. You can go to Dr. Cherniss, go to Dr. Gates. You can go, if you're worried about curriculum and religion, the curriculum, go to Olivia Young. Go to
finances. You can go to Mr. Stein.
Yeah, go to Gary. Gary will tell you. You can go, or you can come to us too. And like I've always had to say, like I've had to tell you before, no, I can't talk about that. Like I've had to tell my son the other day, I cannot talk about that. Like you can ask questions, and as long as it's not confidential, you know, we can talk about it. You know, like what's going on, the random questions, but you know, the confidential, you know, HR issues and, you know, investigations going on in the district, if you're trying to get me to spill about that. But yeah, so
yeah, and it really, I mean, just the human resources issues
yes.
are really the thing that
Oh yeah.
you cannot talk about.
No.
So they'll pick the thing you can't talk about and then just keep repeating that you're not
Yes.
being transparent about
Yeah.
it. And then I'll come on because as a parent, I have been told by other parents, again, you've not told me, I'm not going into some secret source inside the school district. I've tried to explain this to people.
Yeah.
I've been around this community for 25 years, maybe 30 years. I know a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, and I know a lot of law enforcement. And so I can share with them the things that I know, which are true. I'm not going to lie. And then there was a little bit about what's happening at Esperanza and that principle, and I really thought it would be important to say why they were not you guys were not renewing his contract. And then as I gave it more thought, as much as I wanted to, and people go, you can't do that. The same people that are saying you're not being transparent.
Right.
I thought, well, it's not just him. There were other people involved, and I thought it was just so much better to just let everybody know, hey, there's reasons why, but I don't want to be a part of sharing what that was, because it's just getting so crazy out there.
Yeah.
And we, in an attempt to try to address some of these questions as a parent, I thought it better not to do that
Right.
for the time being. So we'll see where it goes. But there just, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that if somebody doesn't have their contract being renewed, my thoughts based on what I do know from other parents and even other teachers is that there is a reason. And that's all anybody needs to know. And especially when that's a 5-0 vote
Yes.
across the 5 members of the school board, then there's obviously reason enough for all of them to agree that that contract should not be renewed. And so that was a little bit of just explanation about that. Karen, let's see, where are we at? PYL Buzz wants to say, can you ask if she'll do a town hall? Parents have said their emails are going unanswered.
That's interesting.
This is kind of a town hall.
The last town hall that we did was an impromptu town hall when I believe it was in January of 2022 when we had the 2-minute board meeting.
Yes.
And Buck and no, this was the following one. This was January like 19th or something. And it
no, because the one you just mentioned, that's when they tried to arrest me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh. That one was the one I was served with a lawsuit from all the
Yes.
parents for the mesh mask. And I was like, I wasn't on the list, but I got served.
Yes.
And I was like, I think you're looking for all the people that left. But
so the other one,
it was
the
so
impromptu.
yeah. So it was the next one when yeah. And so essentially they all got up and left and walked out. And so me and Sean stayed because this was, I think, before closed session was supposed to start. And so we said, no, we're going to stay because we have a board meeting, the public board meeting at 7 p.m. And so me and Sean stayed. And so the whole audience stayed. So we said, well, let's not sit here in silence. Like, let's talk. So people got up and they shared their frustrations and they asked us questions and we answered what we could answer. So of course I'm not opposed to having a town hall. I've done it before.
Yeah.
I think too, you know, but like, it's the same thing like this. Like what questions would people like to ask? You know, are they asking about employment issues? The answer's gonna be the same. You know, we can't talk about it. I mean, we can talk like the graph that I presented came from the district and it was, you know, obviously given to all of the board members, you know, because of the issues going on. And they said, hey, we've compiled this list. Here's this, you know, here's this graph that you can share. And so I shared that. And so I'm sharing what I can, and they're trying to help ease, you know, the confusion and the misinformation that's out. But, you know, as best as they can without breaching confidentiality.
I think town halls are both good and they can be bad. You need a strong moderator.
Yes.
To keep control of people's agendas.
Yes.
Because it should be just simply about raising a hand, asking a question, and getting an answer from the panel, whoever that might be.
Right.
Superintendents and school board members. So it's really important to do that. If control is lost, then it'll make it look like what it is they're trying to say is that there's chaos. Kind of same thing what happens at some of the school boards meetings where you have people that are holding signs up behind speakers' heads that say QAnon and
That
and yell,
happened to you.
and
I'm
yelling
super sorry.
and yelling and screaming, and then you hear, oh, it was chaos. Those
Yes.
conservatives are causing chaos. I go, well, did you not see what happened? So there has to be some ground rules and a good moderator to make sure and hold that control. I do like doing what we're doing here because they can ask these questions, and maybe we can schedule one even more ahead of time to just maybe have that give more people an opportunity to do that, because I think this is a great way to go about it. It allows us to see the question and then answer them, and maybe a panel with Todd and maybe.
I think we can only do. I don't know how many like what would be allowed and what's not allowed. If it has to be the full board, or can there only be two of us, or whatever it is. But I'm not afraid to answer questions. I've never been afraid to answer any of the questions. That's why I've stuck around. And when school board meetings get called after 2 minutes, you stick around. And so I meet with people in the community. I've met with people who don't agree with me at all. And so I'm not afraid to answer questions. I actually think a town hall would be really fun.
Mr. Gary Stein gave the great presentation at the last school board meeting about all the numbers and stuff like that. Usually numbers confuse me. That's why I became a cop. And so I was able to walk up to him and introduce myself and ask him about, the 2%. He was talking about if we can increase attendance by 2%, have 2% less children calling in sick, that the school would gain $2.6 million.
Right.
I thought it was very, very important point that he brought up.
Yes.
And so I was able to do that. Everybody could do that. It's not just me. He didn't know who I was.
Right.
He goes, hey, what do you have to ask? And I asked my question. And I think that's critical when we're looking at what's happening with the charter school, what's happening with, having tutoring available to every student in the school, to putting camps in now at every elementary school as opposed to a couple. When you add all those things, you then create an eagerness of children to wanting to come to school, which will then perhaps bring in not only 2% more kids from calling in sick to maybe 5 or 6%. How great is that?
Right.
And so these are the things that I'm hoping through doing this with you is that we can calm some of these waters so we can get to the point where we just implement some of these plans. They may not all be successful. I think they will.
I think they will too.
But let's see that. They're not even willing to look at change. Like you said earlier, change scares people. But it hasn't been going well up to this point. We've had reduced enrollment. We've had less money coming in. We have a whole bunch of things. We have even the grade standards have had been lowered because the children aren't meeting the minimum standard for reading, writing, and counting. And so obviously something has to happen. So why not wait to see some of these things get up and running?
Because they might be successful.
Oh, wait. What does that mean?
Wait, there's more. No, I think that I do like another thing that you just said, because the camps, the science camps, we were having these science camps like limited to certain schools, certain grades. And so Cherniss came in and he says, wait a second here. Like, why would we only offer it to certain schools? And so here we go, we have all of these schools now that have it. And so everybody screams equity, and we talk about equity, and they make these equity committees, but then there's no equity. And then like now, people complain that they don't see an equity committee anymore, but it's like, but we're actually giving equity. So you can have equity and you can work what's good for students and give students complete equity without having to committee it. You can just do it. And that's what I like about Dr. Cherniss is like, we don't have to sit here and talk about a district charter school or a sports institute for 2 years. We can just sit around for maybe 2 weeks and then we can do it, and we can make a move.
Yeah, I think when you ask my older kids, what is their fondest memory about being at school, and they all say science camp.
Yes.
They loved it.
Yeah, they love science camp.
Karen says, Dr. Cherniss has done so many great things in such a short time here. I'm sure it's scary for the union since they don't control him. Thank you, Karen.
I'm shocked Karen said that.
Yeah, me too. PYLUSD admin page. That's funny. Parents have said the same about Carrie Buck. Does that outrage you too? That's an interesting comment. That's just, I don't know how to answer that. Karen says they are mad about things they never even cared about prior to this. Their selective outrage is funny. Yeah, these are some of the things that we're seeing out there. Let me see. Wow, there's a lot of good comments there from people. Oh, here is a good one. Can you explain how Andy Falco has 6 reasons why principals are let go when you all repeatedly claim that HR issues cannot be shared? How does he know this information? Apparently, you weren't listening. Um, so, PYL Buzz admin page. I don't have no idea who that is.
It's Panda Bear.
Oh, these anonymous people
It
are.
might be Panda Bear.
Panda Bear. So Panda Bear, as I've shared on my own videos, which I know you've watched, and what I just shared now, I've been a part of this community for somewhere in the neighborhood of 25, 30 years. I'm not sure. I've owned businesses here in the Yorba Linda area on Prospect, on Valley View, and then Brea on Birch Street, where I've employed hundreds of people that live in and around this community. I was a police officer in the city of Anaheim. I trained police officers at the academy who are now sergeants, lieutenants, and captains and chiefs of police. And I have trained hundreds, if not thousands, of pet dog owners and police officers in the community. I'm telling you all that, not to tell you how fantastic I am. I'm telling you all that because I have a number of people who live in this community who know me personally. And the union has done such a terrific job at scaring people, teachers, and even parents to speaking up that they find somebody like me in the community and say, hey, I see you do these shows. I see what's happening, but I cannot say anything because I'm afraid that there'll be retaliation towards my kids. I'm afraid there's going to be retaliation as far as my employment's concerned, but I want to let you know this is what happened. And to answer your question, that is how I know. How did I find out about the harassment, the hostile work environment at El Dorado High School against the 2 police officers? I was told by people in the community, and then I researched it and found out. So I hope this answers the question because this keeps coming up.
Well, and I'm gonna break in a little bit too.
Okay.
And so the thing is that you list the 6 reasons, but you don't really even know if that's the 6 reasons. You're guessing.
Yes.
Because
yes,
he was guessing. Like when I saw it, I go, huh, that's interesting. But I'm not going to say anything to you because it's an HR thing. So I just sit here and you list 6 reasons, and
I
I'm
didn't
just
think
staying
about that.
quiet. Yeah. So you are guessing that the 6 reasons you were laying out. That is a guess on your part because you don't really know because nobody's told you. It's the community.
Correct.
So you believe that these are the 6 reasons.
Yes, but I've been an employer for 3 decades, and
I understand that.
I've fired people for the same thing.
I'm not
So it's an educated guess. How about that? I feel
Okay.
better about saying it's an
Okay.
educated guess.
So we want.
So I don't even know. I mean,
Yeah.
I've not been able to go to you and say, hey, I got these 6 things. Which one of these are the reasons why, or is it all 6?
I don't know what you're talking about. I do think we should go back though. There was one that who the people. Oh, why does Blades ban people who post questions or factual information on their pages? And so I'm just curious because I think that we should clear this up. Somebody was telling me I'm not an admin for PYL for choice because the person who is the admin was sending me saying all the students at Esperanza were commenting Leandra Blades, like thinking that was my page and it wasn't me.
Oh.
And he's like, well, I'll be you, but you know, so things like that. Like, so because I think that was brought up again, like, oh, she runs PYL for choice on Instagram. No, I don't. Nope.
Sometimes I see those things and I go, when did I not know this?
That you... I know. Like I didn't know I ran that page. Okay. Yeah.
Huh.
And you know, the whole Yorba Linda Uncensored thing too, people really like that's a contentious thing for some people. They really don't like that information goes out on there. But you know, I started that in like 2020 when all the buzz people were kicking everybody off. So that is kind of went from there. And I've had to put other admins on the page to deal with it just because I don't deal with it. But it's also too like run very differently because it's uncensored. So it's just page, it goes, you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's in the past when I was paying more attention, there was very few complaints and comments. And so, yeah, so they're upset that I started a page in the community. And so now they're saying I'm banning and booting people apparently from that too. But if it is, it's probably the other admins. If anybody's getting booted, like I even asked because I didn't think that was really an issue. But yeah, I think we should put that out right now. PYL for choice is not mine. In fact, that came about right when I got on the board, I saw that come up, and it was basically because there was a group of parents who were fighting the masks and the vaccine mandates, and they were concerned about that type of stuff coming into the district. So that's how that page came about.
Well, there has to be a page when something like hundreds of teachers are being fired at PYLUSD that's happening in a stream. There has to be some place where somebody comes in, because when I had come in to a page and said, no, this is not happening.
Right.
Look at the Orange County Register where Dr. Cherniss talked to the reporter and said 0 pink slips are
Right.
being given. That's a quote. That's him
Right.
being transparent.
Right.
And then I get kicked out, and I go, but I don't know why you don't want to see where what you're saying is not true. Wouldn't it make you feel better if you thought that something was happening and I was able to give you the information? It wasn't me writing in there. It was me sharing an article where the superintendent says that's not happening. Wouldn't that go, oh, thank goodness. I this whole time thought hundreds of teachers were being fired.
Right.
Wouldn't it be a relief?
Not if it's not the narrative you're running.
I just don't know of this. I don't understand. It'd be like saying, thinking I had cancer. Like I see the spot, and I go, oh, this spot's growing. I have cancer. I have cancer. I'm going to die.
Right.
And then somebody says, no, that's just a mole.
Right.
Calm down. Calm down, you wine bucket. And I'd be so relieved. It's like learning that you no longer have cancer.
Right.
You read a lot faster than I can. Let's see. Let's have a town hall. Oh,
wait, hold on. Let's have a town hall at a town hall at the end of the month at a local park or restaurant with no moderators. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
I'd be happy to moderate, by the way. I moderate. We have church here at our house once a month on Sundays, and you'd be shocked, but you have to moderate a church at your house.
Yeah, you do,
because people can get like,
Yeah, you definitely would need a little bit more than just a park or a restaurant. I think we should have some moderators, probably some security.
I was thinking
the way things have happened even in our board meetings.
I was thinking like the theater at El Dorado.
Can
you do it? Maybe there's some issue about it being on school property or something.
Yeah, that could be it.
We could do it here at the East Lake at our little East Lake thing.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know if that's big enough, but
yeah.
Let's give that some thought and see what we can do. Karen says, Leandra is very open to speaking with everyone. She has even changed hearts and minds with those on one meeting. And I'm going to tell you, I have too.
You have?
I have.
Really?
Leah.
Oh yeah, Leah.
I had a woman who went after me on.
And you trained your dog too.
Oh yeah, on social media. She went after me and called me King of the Douche Lords. As a matter of fact, that was my name for a while. And we have become friends and spoke. And she just has a better understanding than what she thought, because the same thing was happening. She was in this echo chamber of hearing repeatedly the same misinformation over and over again. And then we met for coffee, her and my wife, and we were able to straighten out some of the things. She goes, I had no idea. She learned that she wasn't dying of cancer on that topic. Can you clarify if kids who were truant over the COVID vaccine mandate protest received any detention for skipping school?
When was this?
I don't know.
Maybe the PYL Buzz admin page can tell us when this was. I don't know. So I will say that the Esperanza was the only high school who did not give out any truancies or absences on the day of the walkout. All the other high schools, they gave out truants and absences. The middle schools, I believe, did the same thing. So yeah, Esperanza was the only one. That's the only one I know. I don't recall a walkout for COVID vaccines. And I don't recall, I mean, if you're saying that people called out, like students called out, and just didn't go to school for the day, I don't know, because I don't remember that protest. The only walkout that I've ever been known to happen since I've been on the board was the other day at Esperanza.
There's a really good comment there. But on this one, my two of my sons were sent home because they weren't wearing a mask. But they lost that day, so Right? I think that answers the question.
I don't
They
know.
were never walked out. I knew the protest was not to wear the mask, essentially. Or my kids said, I can't breathe. And it just doesn't make any sense. I see kids with it off their side of their mouth and those kinds of, and so they just said, we're not wearing them because nobody's actually wearing them. And so that was their thing. So answering that question is, as far as my kids that did not stay in school, who got, told to go home, they just got a sick day. This is a really good question, which I just answered. So Andy, you're saying someone leaks the information to you. Miss Blades doesn't. That seems like a problem.
If a parent leaks information to Andy, that's a problem.
What does it have to do?
I don't understand.
I don't know. It's people have the First Amendment. The
I think you've clarified,
Yeah.
and I think that this is the whole thing. Here we go again. Like there's been clarification. The board is not leaking information. The district is not leaking information. But I have, we live in a world where parents all talk. If there's something going on, like I don't know a lot of things that are going on at El Dorado or, Valencia, unless a parent tells me or, something starts to come through the emails or whatever. But when your kids are in school, you know what's going on. And like you hear things, your kids hear things, and oh, did you hear about this and that? So if parents are going to you, that's not necessarily a leak. Parents are just giving you information. I think the premise of this question right now is they're trying to say that things are leaking from the board or they're leaking from the district to you. But I mean, like, basically what it is parents are telling you what has happened, just as parents tell all of these other people what have happened, and parents talk to each other about what happened.
Right.
Like I talk, about what has happened sometimes at the schools, like, like
as a parent.
Yes, as a parent, like you're sitting in there, oh my gosh, did you see what just happened at this basketball game? Or did you see what this, or do you see that? Like that's talking as parents. I think they're trying to, implicate that there's leaks happening to you from the district, but parents talk. I mean, that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah. I don't know how many times I can say this. I just think it's important to maybe just one more time. I was a police officer for decades, and and so was Leandra. I was a detective also. My wife, just to bring her into this whole thing, she worked as a contractor for the FBI, protecting our country from counterterrorism or from terrorism as a counter-terrorist expert. And so I just don't understand the confusion as to how it is that somebody coming to me with information and then be looking into it doesn't make sense. That I'm able to find out certain things. I had a reporter call me yesterday to ask me questions.
Really?
Yes. They come to me because they can't seem to find out. And so, yes, I had reporters, I have emails, I get texts, I get, you name it. It comes so often that I cannot keep up. If you were to see the amount of texts and emails I have pending, it would drive you crazy.
Can we ask them I really want to know, are we talking, when we say PYLUSD, are we talking to Panda Bear? I just want to know.
Yeah, I just want to. Who are you?
Are we talking to Panda
Bear? Yeah, I've always wanted to know that too. Let's see. I accidentally popped down. We have a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Karen says Leandra is very open to speaking with everyone. She has. I already said that. I'm sorry about that.
I think you're down. Who is they? I think you just told them that it's parents.
I'm not going to tell you who they are. You lunatic. Sorry. I was trying to. Why didn't you stop me?
Why do you do that?
Because it drives me crazy.
Todd is like super measured.
I know.
I
hate that guy.
And then when I'm like, you're kind of a lunatic. Stop.
He's despicable.
Stop.
Todd is despicable. I can't keep up with him. I'm not. Why would I do that? I don't know how to. Please tell me who you are, so I know who I'm talking to.
I just don't want to talk to a panda bear. That's all. I would just like to know who they
are. Funny how some hiding their identity keeps demanding transparency. Good point. Karen says, you got to read that.
They're accusing Leandra of banning when that's exactly what they do on all their echo chamber groups when someone challenges their lies. And then I think going down, there were no vaccine mandates. So why was there, if there was no vaccine mandates, then why was there a protest or a walkout? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I think there was talk of the vaccine mandates coming, because I remember with the masking and then the potential vaccine mandates and stuff that you were always rumored to hear. Because I even flew up. I flew up to I flew up to Sacramento on my own dime, to go up there with a group of school board trustees to go talk to our legislators and talk about, we're going to say the word parental rights, like to be able to choose, mask and choose, to opt out of vaccines, especially experimental vaccines, as we know that everything that they were doing was experimental. And it's actually federal law that your child and you as a person, as a human being, can deny being experimented on. Yep. And so we did go up and we did talk about that and the type of effects that this was having on kids and what it was doing to people in schools. And so I know that it had been talked about. And what I thought was really, really crazy was, I don't recall the guy's name, but he was, I think he's gone on to like DC now, but he was in California for that whole thing. And so, of course, when they were talking about all of the COVID stuff and the things that happened, and he stood there and he said, nobody ever was mandated to take a vaccine or wear a mask. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's what I was saying the whole time. These are not laws. They're not laws. Right. They're recommendations, and everybody said I was killing children and, things like that when I said that children should have mask choice. Yeah. And then he comes out as one of California's, main people at that time and said, this was never forced onto people, and you were never forced to take a vaccine to keep your job, and these children were never forced to wear a mask at school. And so that was like eye-opening. But of course it comes, a year or two after you've emerged from a hellhole. But
yeah. If you grew up in the 70s, you watched a show called Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes.
And they taught us what a law was.
I didn't grow up in the 70s though. I'm going to say yes.
I mean, just from that simple 30-second
video in school.
We know what a law is.
Yes.
It was really one of the craziest things. It's not a law. Yeah. Well, how do you know? Did you not watch Schoolhouse Rock? They tell you how a law becomes a law. I like this question by Maria. She says, can you comment on what do you think the future of PYLUSD looks like?
The future looks bright. If we continue on this path, what, the charter school option with, charter schools have a little bit broader. They don't have to necessarily follow the state curriculum like public schools have to. So they can go and they can use different curriculum. And so, just the fact that there's an option there should be good for our community. And I think too, the Universal Sports Institute, that's something too. Like we have a lot of kids who, are in our Parkview program, and now we have a PE option because that's going to be used as the Parkview PE option. They can go to the Sports Institute and they can either train for their sport or they could just do, the agility and all the other stuff that will be offered. But also too, the kids who can't afford these really pricey sports academies, where your parents are paying I'm hearing $1,000 to $1,500 a month for them to receive this type of training. And they're kind of doing the whole homeschool program. And we are losing kids at these rates. But, a lot of the coaches have been going through the Sports Institute and they're really liking it, even though at the they think it's going to be great for middle school, because you can get all these kids in, get them trained, start, really working with them, not only in their programs at their high schools, but then they can also come for additional training, in our district for extra training. But, it's just too, there's a lot of kids in our school district who will be able to utilize this that will not be able to access personal trainers, gyms. I know our high school coaches are really excited too about the recovery phase of the Sports Institute, the ice baths and, the cryo that's hopefully coming, and just a bunch of those aspects. And so because what we have realized is that, you go in and sometimes, depending on what your insurance is, you get hit in the head, or you hurt something, you have something sprained and you can't get into your doctor right away. Like, it was Caldwell, who we send our athletes to right now. They are going to have, from what I'm hearing and the latest talk, so don't hold me to it, but that is somebody who is hopefully going to be able to partner with us. So he can see our athletes, in the facilities and, further our partnership. So there's a lot of really good things going on. And so I think too, just with our middle school sports, wrestling has taken off. Literally on Tuesday, it was insane. You would have thought Bernardo was having a rock concert, but it was an actual a middle school wrestling duel. And so, wrestling is the fastest growing sport in America. And the one I went to the week before, Tuffrey and Yorba Middle over at El Dorado. I mean, it's crazy. The place is packed. Everyone, like, all these kids are wrestling. The Valadez principal, or assistant principal, sorry, told me yesterday that this wrestling program and this middle school sports stuff has changed her school. Like their kids are changed, like, like it's just really like kind of taken
That's
over.
great.
So there's a lot of things like that's going, but also too, so I would say the academics, like looking ahead to be, very solid in our academics, and having a lot of accountability, like all of these interventions, like we want to have, the best students. So like all of these interventions that we've provided, like over 3,000 or 4,000 students are getting, math and reading interventions right now to get them to grade level. All of the things, like it just looks bright, but it's being done fast, but we have to do it fast because like you're like, when is it too fast to serve children? When is it too fast to do that? Like, when is it too fast to say, we're going to make your education and hopefully your life beyond Placentia or Belinda better, or your life in Placentia or Belinda, we're, going to make it better. And so this is why we're moving so fast.
Many of the things you just mentioned are the things that I was talking about earlier. They're going to encourage kids to come to school, and they're going to want to come to school.
Yes.
Because they know that their time on the mat, if they're wrestling, will be hurt if they're not coming to school and getting good grades. As all my daughter's really sick right now, but she goes, I can't miss cheerleading.
Yeah.
Right. And so she goes, I can't miss school.
Right.
Now, some people that look at that, they go, well, that's torturous. No, there's times when they're, not that sick.
Right. Well, I mean, I had one of my sons, didn't want to miss a water polo game, and he like sinus infection, like you wouldn't believe, and he went to school so he could play in his water polo game. And like, thank God for telehealth, because they prescribed me some, antibiotics and stuff, and we were able to get him through. But it does, like, when you have, like, when kids are like passionate about something, it's just the same thing too. Like, did you call out of work? When you were sick?
First 10 years, I did not call
my
sick
eardrum
once.
ruptured one night on patrol, and I had to drive into the emergency room, and like they gave me some antibiotics, but like it kept working. So it's like things like that like I think you work, like when things are important to you, you can kind of like work through the pain, like if you're sick, But then also too, what we have to realize too is a lot of our kids that are working through and they want to make the game, it's not only because they want to do it, they want to be a part of a team, and they want to let their team down. And so I think that things like that are important as well. Perseverance.
Yes. Margaret Thurston Howell III. I just added that because
That's from
Gilligan's Island. Thanks. From the governor's website, California becomes first state in the nation to announce COVID-19 vaccine requirements for schools, published October 1st, 2021.
I do remember San Diego, like a school district in San Diego started requiring the vaccine mandate.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Margaret.
Yeah.
All right, we can go.
Yeah.
Let's go past
that. You are they. Yes. Steve, 100%. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Maria says, in your opinion, what are some of the things that are at stake this upcoming November, and it relates to the future of PYLUSD?
Well, I think the progress and the path that we're on, because I would hate for the things that like we've been working for now, if you want to go back to the old and have the declining enrollment again, because I think it's what we've done. And I mean, it was outside the box. I mean, like, let's think about this, because we pretty much know now that there was like a succession of who the superintendents were supposed to be. And so what they were bringing was the same old. And there was, like, I guess, I don't know what is it, like the tap or whatever, like you're next, or you're going to be this, you're going to be that. And was it necessarily like because they were good for the district, they're going to do the right thing? No, it was because they were all buddies, and it was as my friend Makai Ali says, it was the homeboy hookup. And so that's kind of what was happening, was we weren't like going and looking to the outside for, the people that would push the school forward. I think like status quo was good. So that was one thing. That's one thing, I think, by going outside, using a different search firm, because the search firm that, was used for El Sasser and, was actually our law firm, which nobody knows about it. Mike Matthews was brought in with that search firm, and it's actually a 1090 violation because he was an employee of the search firm that placed him into our school. And, I mean, it's just like things like that you find as you're going. And so, that's why we went way outside the box. That's why we, went with, we changed the attorney because, they weren't allowing school board members to talk to attorneys directly. You had to have the superintendent on the phone or they asked the question for you. So we've made a lot of the changes to be able to push us forward, but going with Hazard, Young, and Atia. And what was really good was that Micaiah Lee is a Compton School Board member, and he also is a consultant for that firm, the superintendent search firm. So he brought a lot of personal knowledge, and he brought a lot of things. But what he did was that was the first time I'd ever actually met with a consultant and said what we wanted with the superintendent. And and then he went and he brought somebody in because these are what we asked for. We said we need innovation, we need accountability, we need we're not afraid to move, we're not afraid to make these moves. And and then Dr. Cherniss was hired with a 5-0 majority. And so I think like we've done these things, we've done these moves to get away from like what was causing declining enrollment and what wasn't working. And we've tried to like, okay, we're going to go new here, we're going to do this new here, we're going to do this. And so we've tried to we've just tried to go in a new direction, and then suddenly like we see this uptick. But then too, we have this people over here who says, oh my gosh, they're succeeding, let's cause chaos.
This.
Yes. Yes.
See, fewer people are leaving. So I can't get rid of that comment. I went too fast. There we go. We see reduced number of people leaving. We see reduced number of people that we have to get rid of because of budgetary reasons.
Right.
And again, I say we, I mean all of us in the school district.
Well, it is we, like, and that's the whole thing. People keep saying that you say we, but like we are the community. Like the community elects us in, to office. And so when you're saying we, I feel like you just think it's something that you wanted that we're, that we are doing. Like that's what you elected us for because these were the ideas that we had.
That leads into my, I wanted to talk about what Maria asked also, is that I've spent several years now, I think it's something like 4 years now, of attending nearly every school board meeting when I'm in town. But it seemed to me that there was this level of mediocrity that they were comfortable with, that people just say, you know what, we're getting all these awards, which I've talked about California awards. It means you're just simply following what the union wants and what Sacramento wants. Right. And so you get an award. Thank you for not, thinking outside the box. And so there's this level of mediocrity that everybody gets comfortable with. And I was looking at our numbers as far as where we stand in the nation, as far as schools, and it's something like 1,500th or something like that in a couple of the schools. And everybody's going, wow, look at that. We're like in the top something percentage. And I said, why are 1,500 schools or 14,999 schools better than ours?
Right.
Why are we not in the top 100?
Right.
Because we can be. We're Yorba Linda, Placentia, Brea, Anaheim. We have some of the best people in these communities that are very smart people. Why are we happy with only being 1,500th?
Right.
And so I was not happy with that. There's obviously a lot of other things that I personally am not happy with, but again, it has to be compromised. But the one thing I'm not willing to compromise on is why aren't we working towards a district of excellence? Why are we not raising that bar?
Well, we are, and that's what we're doing is we have raised the bar. And that's why, like in Dr. Cherniss's interview, he said he would fix it. He could fix declining enrollment. He could fix the issues that we as a board were asking for, and so, yes, has he fixed declining enrollment? Yes, because look at what, we're not declining enrollment anymore.
Right.
Like, has he fixed, like we've said, we've said from the start, like me and Todd, especially, we said we need to have, like, people are going to want to come where the sports are. Like sports is huge. Sports, arts. I remember one of my friends, like I never understood it until, she went to the Los Alamos School of Performing Arts because that was what her specialty is. So that's what she wanted to go do. And so like you start to talk about that and then you start to look around, you start to I was stalking some of these pages like on Instagram, like following like some of these, like the charter schools that are offering the sports academies and like what they're doing, to get all these kids just to get the information about it. Like why are these people in Orange flocking? They're not flocking to Orange Unified, to the public school. They're flocking to the charter schools, like that Santiago and El Rancho and stuff. Like, what are they offering? So you have to start to look like, okay, we have to think outside the box, because there are people who are perfectly happy. I mean, my kids aren't going to go to, there's no charter school offered right now, but, they're not going to go in the Sports Institute. My youngest isn't going to, attend Parkview and go to the Sports Institute next year. He's going to stay where he is, which is completely fine. But, yeah, I just think that, like, we have to be able to offer, and this is what he does, and this is what he has said. I'm going to offer things to the kids, to push us forward, propel us forward, so we can achieve the excellence. So the kids that, I'm hoping that, like, I'm hoping that once the computer science and the Sports Institute and all that dust settles, like, I'm hoping I get elected again in November, and that we can create a, like, a performing arts and a music,
Yep.
district charter. And when people go, oh my gosh, another charter, well, how else do you deviate from the whole public school setting? You know what I mean? To have a school that's still still in the district, but then, like, it has this specialty. Like, the specialty schools are the hot commodity right now. And so if we can, do that for, our our art students and our band students and our musical students, and we can, like, offer something like that. Like, why wouldn't we do that? It's not just about the athletes. It's not just about things like that. This is about everybody and meeting the needs of every student.
Why, for the last few years, did we have four classrooms in the same building and didn't have walls separating the different classrooms?
That was like 26 or 27 years, like, since the school opened. And I'm not kidding. And I was completely shocked when I walked into that room. Well, when I walked into all of the rooms, because it was so loud, and there's literally four teachers with full classes standing there, and you can hear everything in one room, one big room. And I said, what in the heck is going on here? And thank goodness that they, I was kind of given, you need to go to, the teachers were, you need to come to Travis. And so I went, and I was just shocked. And so, I look at this because I have two kids with, they have two different types of ADHD and ADD, but my kids would never have succeeded in that. I wouldn't have succeeded in that. Heck no. And so I'm sitting here going, so we have put, like, for 20 something years, this district had barriers for these students. Like, that's what that was. That was a barrier. And, like, so why wouldn't we put walls up? They've been asking for walls. So I have to go to a board meeting and announce that we have these, there's no walls, and this is a barrier to student learning.
I was shocked
to make anybody do something about it, because I did do it behind the scenes, and I got the, okay, then let's put it out there, because nobody was listening. So that's the thing too, is so when you don't have people who listen, they give you a pat on your back, and, oh, you're such a good little board member. How cute. Yeah. But then you go, like, and then you tell Dr. Cherniss, hey, there's a leaky roof at, was it Glen Knoll the other day? And the crew's out there within 45 minutes, or there's this, or there's that.
Not 24 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's the type of difference that I'm seeing with the change.
So that's what I'm talking about, this teachers union. That you would think that they care about the four teachers that we're having to teach in that environment, and say, hey, this is unsustainable.
Right.
We are not getting the
working conditions.
Yes. But they don't, there's no walkout for that. There's no, hey, we need to change this. And they didn't come and stand at the podium like Linda Mannion does and say, hey, we need to get these walls. These teachers can't work under this condition. Right. But you, based on a rumor and lies, they have a walkout on something that doesn't even actually exist. Right. It's just, it drives me crazy. Right. And I'm really doing really good. Are you proud of me? I could have said something really bad there. Maria has some good questions. Can you comment on the recent efforts made to support the English learning students reach their academic goals?
Yes. So this was looked at because this was kind of an area that I thought was kind of ignored. And so we were actually going to bring in, before Dr. Cherniss came, we were actually going to bring in, like, it was an English learner, like a director position, because it was so, they were not having their needs met. And so now when Dr. Young took over, now it's kind of like in every area of our district, like English learners falls under everything. And so, yeah, so there's been a lot of, there's been a lot of programs put forward. But you know too, and what I'm liking now is we're actually like using data, because like before we weren't using like evidence driven data, or not evidence, well, evidence driven, but evidence based data. You know, you're kind of like you're collecting all this data, but then like nobody's like using it to make
Putting it
any
together.
decisions.
Yep.
So now it is being put together, and so we are finding now what is working and what is not working. And so it's not just like we're throwing 20 online programs at them and putting them in front of a computer and hoping it works. Like we're actually going and we're trying to go where the data drives us, if that helps, Maria.
You know, one of the things, it's not related necessarily to this question. That was a great question, Maria. But back to the Sports Institute. And one of the things that I have been talking about for a while is that the extreme expense of sports.
Yes.
That has been laid on the parents in addition to, you know, the academic, you know, costs between all the things that have to be purchased. That it for cheerleading or football and even lacrosse, it's in the thousands of dollars that we have to come up with, which I know for a fact that there's members of our community that just simply can't come up with that kind of money. And coming back now to the Institute, one of the things is that, you know, to get better at a sport, we're having our kids go to private lessons or to go to the gym, which all costs money. I think the thing that I see all over the place where people say, we don't need that Sports Institute, but it is definitely one of those ways to reduce the cost. And I think that that's amazing. You're talking about the medical costs, but physical therapy and all those types of things. And I think that this is just one step towards that, that goal of being able to reach the people that can't afford some of these things. Because I know that there's girls that want to cheerlead, but their parents just simply can't afford it. I know for a fact. We've even offered to pay for some of the students who can't afford it.
Well, I think too, what people like don't realize is that not only too, with the Sports Institute, like you have a lot of people who are coming in, like they want to partner. And so a lot of these partnerships, like Misty May, she wants to help, you know, fund for beach volleyball courts.
Wow.
And so like, you know, that's been on the radar for like the last couple of months. Then all of a sudden she's here and she wants to help out. So you have these things when you do these innovative things and you involve the community, like, you know, who's to say that we can't, you know, you have these athletes that are going through the Sports Institute, but maybe they can't afford their fee. Like who's to say that we can't like start to have innovative ways that like we can raise money, you know, or scholarships or something through the Sports Institute. Just like the charter school at Bernardo, there's a lot of people who want to partner with us, you know, like people, you know, tech people in California and stuff. And so, you know, there's one company that has like, I think, I was just kind of researching them because I heard that they were interested, and they actually like, if they have had high schools, you know, across California that have said, hey, you want to get into this program, we will assure you a job right out of high school. And so it's like what they've offered other high schools in California. So there's a lot of things like this that go on that I think people like, they just go, oh, it's a district charter, it's this or it's that. But they don't realize that sometimes when you do these innovative things and you do things that are outside the box and you're giving all these opportunities, like more opportunities can come, you know, with this because outside people are into it.
Absolutely. So I see we've been on for about an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
But that's because there's a lot of people watching, and you know, they weren't dropping off, so we stayed with it. The one thing I think we should probably end here, but I'm just hoping that through this dialogue and maybe a future dialogue, if we can bring some other things together, is that people stop focusing on how it is that they can destroy the progress that is being made. Again, nobody can guarantee that all of the programs are going to work, but we know for sure that what we've been doing has not been working. We've been losing students, enrollment's been dropping. Again, standards have been to be lowered and lower unless kids are meeting the graduation standards that are out there. So we know that we can't stay where we've been. And quickly, we need to make some improvements. And so I'm just hoping that at some level, that I know there's some people, they just don't have it in them to not bring nonsense to some of these social media platforms.
Well, I think too, some of the nonsense too, and I think we should just do all calls or any more questions before we get off, where all the questions answered that people will have been asking us.
That's good.
But also, like there was some social media sites that were saying that like the district is like falsifying things or deleting, things, and like the staff is doing it. And like, why would anybody say that? And why would we try to like all of a sudden throws a lot of shade on the employees of the district? And so it's just kind of it's kind of like gotten so, but it's also kind of like
like they're destroying hard drives and smashing phones.
Yeah, there was like bleach bit.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
strange, and like you see these things go up, and it's like, are we pushing anything that will stick? And that's the thing is everybody's working, with a ton of integrity. There's no leaks. Like somebody said the other day, so there was a conversation on somebody had talked about, there was an invocation, this whole religious thing, talking about an invocation that was done in November, December. I can't remember what month it was, but there was some community members who were upset about it. And then Carrie Buck, the other school board member, she actually said she would sue our district if it was done again. So, the attorneys get called and stuff, and, like legally you could do this, legally you could do this, or like you could do it this way or that way. But, in the end, when I was like talking to the attorney, I said, why don't we just do an inspirational message? Just have somebody come up, but we have to make sure that because one of our inspirational speakers, prayed, we have to make sure. So, but they said, to the person who was talking about her wanting to sue the district, they said, you've leaked something from closed session. And it's like, what? Like, this has never been in closed session before. This has been, like if you look, there was never a closed session item that talked about inspirational speakers, invocations, nothing like this. And so I think what people need to understand is there is a lot of dialogue between the board member, not between board members, but, board members can share information with each other. But there's a lot of dialogue with the district and with us, like all the board members. I have weekly meetings with Dr. Cherniss, and we talk several times a week about, anything that's going on. And so there's a lot of information that we have that, sometimes we can share with the community, but it doesn't necessarily mean it came from closed session. Mm-hmm. Like I would say that the majority of our closed session items is like so minuscule. So to say that like everybody's leaking these confidential, like I've had to hold hard on all of these human resources, the employment stuff, because that is closed session. So it's like, not talking, and there's other things I've had to hold hard on, like with, no, we're not going to talk about this. But you know what, like when I get told, like I'm, like it was kind of a decision, like I had to sit there and say, well, a lot of people did like the invocation, and like legally we're told that if it's done a certain way, you could do it. But I also have a fiduciary responsibility to the district and to my constituents not to embroil people in lawsuits. And so that's why I said, I'm not even going to push this, because not only do I think it's a bad look for a board member to sue the district that they serve, but it was like, I don't want to have to lose more money. We already have enough litigation going on as it is.
Right.
Like, so I don't want to have to lose more money by like trying to fight this when is this a battle we need to fight? Like, I guess if I was the religious fascist that people have called me, maybe I would have fought that, but we weren't going to fight it. So that's why we said to our speakers, we want inspirational speakers, like community leaders. I'm not going to like give away the name, but the next inspirational speaker is going to be phenomenal. But like, we want people that just have a positive, uplifting message, about our school district, about our community. Like, that's what we want. So, so this whole closed session thing and this leaking, and like, there's such little that goes, like, the stuff in closed session, it can be big sometimes. It's like, oh my gosh. But, like, it's so minuscule compared to the amount of information that is given to us as board members in between. And it's not confidential a lot of times. And some of it can be shared. So like when people ask me questions, like I think I was responding on a social media site about like certain things, and someone says, well, I never knew that, and I said, well, because you blocked me. That's why I didn't know that.
Right.
So I think that things like that need to be also talked about, because, this leaking and all of this stuff, there's just a lot of information. I mean, maybe in the past boards, they haven't been vocal. Like me and Todd are very vocal about things. Like we'll talk to people, and, we'll talk to you. If you ask, we'll give you what we can. But like some of the stuff isn't like, maybe this is the way we should be. Maybe this is the transparency that people are asking for.
Maybe.
But maybe it's because they don't like what they're getting. I don't know.
That is the funny thing, is that they ask for transparency that actually exists, but then when you're sharing with them what the truth is, then they put their hand up and don't want to listen.
No. This must be leaking information from closed session.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just want to talk about a couple of great things that I know of that I've experienced. El Dorado has a great law uh, portion of the instruction over at that school, and I was lucky enough to be invited to speak at an event. And so, if you have a child who is interested in law, that is a great program. That I talked to the teacher. She's, oh my gosh, she has so much energy. I almost got a bloody nose. She's just so happy and just like motivated. She's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And most people kind of get burnt out after a while.
Yes.
But I think she's gaining energy. I met her husband, who was also there to speak, and some other police officers came from Placentia Police Department, and we all had a great time talking to the kids and that kind of stuff. So that is a great program. My younger son, I have no children in the law ones, shockingly enough. I go, hey, kids, get into the law thing. What are you guys doing?
Nobody's going to be a police officer right now.
No, but I have a son that sang in choir at an event at Valencia. He was going to Brookhaven. He's a sixth grader. And that place was standing room only. And they had high schools from the different high schools in the district, and middle schools and elementary schools, all singing together on stage. And the teacher, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name, but he just said how thankful he is to the school board in the district for increasing the opportunity to bring music to the many schools. And so that is another thing that you guys have been able to do through funds that come through this from the state, and you utilize them appropriately. You didn't take those funds and give superintendents raises.
No.
Those funds were used in the way that they were meant to be used.
Yeah.
And so those are at least two programs that I've witnessed the last couple weeks that I think are just spectacular. So when I talk about the school district and talk about some of the negative things about it, there is a lot of fantastic things happening, or else we'd be firing all the teachers.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think that's it too. Like, we're not saying that like nobody's sitting here saying like our district is terrible.
Yeah.
But like when you're like, we could just say like, I guess the speaker, her name was Pam, when she said it was stale. Like I think that a lot of people took offense to that.
Yeah.
But are we just sitting there? Are we not moving forward? Like we shouldn't be upset to like propel us even more forward. Like we have great programs, we have great teachers, we have a lot of great things happening in our district. But can we do more? Because like sometimes you might have a lot of like great things going, but our other schools, our other sports academies, all of these things, are they like surpassing us? And like, are you able to just like, if you look at a business model, because people get upset when we say we should be running this like a business model, but like if you are not giving your customers what they want, they're going to go elsewhere. So we have to always be, like at the forefront and trying to give our customers, which is our community and our students, we should be giving them what they want and not just saying, well, we're fine where we are right here. And then when they're looking elsewhere at some of these private schools or looking at these sports academies, they go, well, then if you're fine where we are, then we're going to go elsewhere. That's what we're trying to avoid.
And I think many of our sports teams in the different high schools are very good.
Yes.
But when I'm at competitions, there are schools that are great.
Yes.
And I know that it's okay to be good. And I'm competitive. All my kids are competitive.
Yes.
But why can't they experience the greatness?
Yes.
Why can't we bring them programs that will allow them to be great?
Right.
Because we're just coming in second. We're coming in third in a lot of these things. And the kids are trying their hardest and they're working their hardest. The coaches are doing their best. But there's something that if they could just have something that would give them that next step up, like a sports academy of some sort or whatever. Making it easier for kids who are great athletes that simply can't afford to be on the team.
Right.
I mean, there's some great athletes out there that, again, they just don't have the finances to do it.
Right.
So I think that this is where I wanted to also, be careful and say, the schools are not destitute of a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Like they're not all falling apart.
No.
But I know we can be better.
Yeah, you can be better. And that's the thing is, I think what this is, what you're seeing from, at least our board majority, is we aren't afraid to take the chance to be better, because all of these places, they took a chance. They took a chance to be great. And here they are. So we have to be able to take chances. And sometimes, the chances it's scary, it is even like a little bit like, run for school board, like,
Yeah.
like things like that. But like you take the chance and then you're successful. And then like, look at what we've been able to accomplish, especially like, it was taking a chance to switch our attorneys. It was taking a chance to go and use Hazard, Young, and Atia. We were taking a chance. We took a lot of chances, but the chances really got us where we are. And we just, you got to turn the ship sometimes, and sometimes you can't have the same people on the ship to make it, to allow it to churn. And so, that was just kind of a few things. But yes, that was taking a chance, and
Yep.
were we assured, success by taking that chance? Absolutely not. But we took it, and you know what? Dr. Cherniss is amazing, and our law firm, they're good. They're very good at what they do. So I just, that's the thing is sometimes to be successful, you got to take a chance. And we're not afraid to take the chances. And, and I can stand by everything that I've done.
Yep.
So I don't try to hide a vote. I don't try to say, no, I voted on something different. This is what I didn't vote on. No, I stand behind my votes. I stand behind what I've done. And I'll stand behind it all.
Absolutely. Jacqueline says, yay for Misty May. Yeah, it'd be amazing to have her be a part of the
Oh my
that
gosh,
program, right?
yes.
Karen says it would be great to have high school that Travis Ranch's Encore group could feed into. It's such a great program, but the kids have nowhere in the district to go after middle school.
Yep. Yeah, and these are the things that like our community looks at and they want. And so, as I don't see, I would not want our district to be full of charter schools, like only ones that work. And I would want them to be district charters where we have our teachers and we have our staff. But like, imagine like having like the passion that we see with the middle school sports, like Sarah Barton at Tuffrey, like she is amazing. And the coaches that are coming in are amazing. And like what we saw from the Tuffrey band that played, and like Jocelyn Crisea at Bernardo when their jazz band came in. Like, look at the passion that these people have. I mean, imagine getting a group of people into like a specialized school, and like what can they do with those, with these performers? I mean, like things like that. Like, would that be taking a chance? It absolutely would. But what happens? Like, what could the end product be? Like, what could that look like for us? I mean, these are just things that you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, why can't we do those things?
Well, we can, but we just can't do it all. Like we can't do 5 or 6 of them in 1 year.
Well, that was one in my meeting I had with Dr. Cherniss. It says, why do we have to accept the level that we're at right now in the nationwide, whatever systems they grade schools on? Why are we okay with that? Right. Why are we celebrating that?
Yeah. Yep.
I just don't see why we can't be number one. Right. I don't understand. At least we should be striving for that every day. Have you addressed the Brown Act violations? Please explain what it is and what would be a violation. I think
that's kind of broad.
That's a huge question.
Yeah. Does she have any further with that?
Yeah. It's a good question.
It's a good question, but
yeah, at the hour and 42-minute mark, we go on for another hour. Jess wants to tell me that he appreciates my dedication to the children of PYLUSD.
I'm sure that was
I think
for
you're doing pretty good too.
I think that's for you.
Yes, I do. I agree, Jess. Leandra's been had to put up with a lot and continue to fight. It's easy. Like for me, like I can get pretty frustrated pretty quick. So I've been again, part of it is that I've been law enforcement and we talk to each other in a completely different way,
yes,
which you guys probably aren't used to. So, my wife has talked to me and says, you maybe want to just not call people names. But we're so used to call people. Are you with me? I mean, I was never called by my name. I was called by my ethnic, my ethnicity. And that's how they talk to me. But I never thought anything about it. I just like, we just thought it was funny. And then when I became a dog handler, they called me by the anatomy of the dog. They said, come here. Yeah. And so that's just how we talk. I want to let you all know I'm being better. Yes. And I'm working towards it. Yes. But you're not great yet. No, I'm not great yet. And so in saying that, I appreciate how it is that you keep it all together, because I have seen what I get, you get twice as much. And I'm some days I just don't know how you do it, because it affects, like me, they're attacking my children now, but they've been attacking your children for a couple of years. Yeah. They've been attacking your family and saying so many things.
They've called my husband's work
They've
And
called
they've
your husband's
asked him
work.
to be fired because he's a white nationalist. Like, it's been crazy. But you're right. The attacks on, like with him,
Mm.
they, he's like, okay, and then they attacks on me. That's fine. It's not fine, but it's like,
Yes,
okay,
I got you.
you can attack me. But I do think that, like, when the most recent last week or two, I've seen your kids have gotten attacked, Todd's kids have gotten attacked, and then mine. But the problem too is, I think that we all need to really sit back and like take a good look at ourselves, because we have, wives of teachers coming out and saying our kids are awful or terrible or whatever was said, and that's what all the teachers are saying. And of course, I haven't told my kid, that attends the school that this wife is talking about, that they've said that. And then, you've had other ones like agree, oh yeah, Todd and Leandra's kid is awful, and they're a retired teacher who volunteers at Esperanza. And so, like, is that the people that we need to do? Do you want to attack, children in our district? Like, is that bullying? Like, we should start asking that question. Are our kids, like, is it cyberbullying? I don't know. But it is bullying, and it is slander against them. And like, then too, we also have to say, like, I think after these comments were made, the Yorba High School teacher's wife, I don't know if people have said, I don't want my kid in that class if he's going to be talking, his wife's going to put stuff out on social media. So I think when we like go to social media, the kids should not only, especially students in our district, they should probably be left out of the whole equation. Like, if you don't like me, like the people talking about my kids, I have never met before, never met. So it's like, okay, but if you want to talk about me and say whatever, and you've never met me, then that goes to your integrity and your character. But what really speaks volumes is that you go after my kids, and you'll say it in a social media platform with other parents and with teachers and with people in our community on that. I'm sorry, that lacks incredible character and incredible integrity. And I just will say, I know that some of these people go into our board meetings, and do they ever come up after and say anything to me? No. Do I see them in the grocery store? Do I see them around town? They don't say anything to me. But man, on social media, they are a rock
Very
star.
brave. Yeah.
Super rock star.
Yeah, I met with Laura Fisher, who's retiring the other day, and met about how, for me, I loved what she was able to do with my kids, because they were there we moved there from Golden, and she didn't tell me that my kids were horrible. And so I thought that was pretty neat.
Nice.
Yeah. She loves my kids. I just met with Mr. Wikachia from Tuffrey, who's had both of my older kids in his class. And he took me aside and says, I just love your kids. I miss your kids. Right. But yet on social media, I'm being told how horrible they are.
Yeah,
so I don't know where they were horrible, but I have not heard about it yet, other than from this wife of the teacher who said that our kids were horrible.
Right.
And so I just don't understand how I wouldn't do that.
Right.
Like now there's a video that I posted, and on there I talked about some issues that were happening at El Dorado, and they took and cut it up. And said that I claimed all these things. And what I was talking about was that I would not share a picture of a child in the school district, because they're under 18.
Right.
They don't deserve it. I wouldn't do that to them, even to the parent of somebody who's attacking me.
Right.
I would not share a picture of their child. That is the kind of thing that I think it's important to understand. But they turned that around to mean that I was doing something else.
Right.
But I think that's an important thing to remember, that the children don't deserve to be shouted out, or to even if they are bad, come to me and tell me, hey, you know what, your kid is a pain in the ass.
Right.
You need to get together with them and talk about what it is they're saying or doing. That has yet to happen, like you were saying, ever. But just back to just really quick, there's so many people that do not speak up and do not stand up because of the things that happen to you.
Yeah.
And
I realize that.
I think part of it is that your history of being a police officer, we're used to getting shot at in the middle of the night while everybody's sleeping. And then when people see videos of what it is that we have to do, sometimes they go, well, I don't want to see that.
Right.
And so we understand the role of being the people that sometimes have to stand there and take the hits. But you're doing it almost on a volunteer basis. And so
true. Very true.
We just appreciate you for doing that, because in the end, we're seeing the results.
Right.
We're seeing enrollments increase. We're seeing people like Dr. Cherniss being brought into the school, and Isaiah
Gates.
Isaac. I want to say Isaac.
Yeah.
It's
I
Isaiah.
know, it's Isaiah. And
Um,
and Dr. Olivia Young,
yes, amazing.
she's amazing. She's really stepped up to plate. And and the thing too is Dr. Cherniss, he gives them a lot to do.
Mm,
So it's like nonstop, and she's like completely stepped up to the plate. And I mean, getting those interventions done, getting all of the things done that she's doing, is amazing. And then Gary Stein, he came from the OC Department of Education. Our finance guy, he's working overtime to try to the main thing a lot of parents have said is, and he mentioned yesterday in the luncheon for the principal for a day, we keep asking for the ASB oversight because that's what the community is asking for. And so he's working, to try to get a program together where ASB is done differently. So there's more transparency and, different things like that. So there's a lot of work, Renee Gray with special ed, she is working it. She is working hard.
that is such an important part of our school district that I think a lot of people forget or miss out on. But I think we have some great people that are in place. And one more time, what's her name? Who's in charge of that?
Renee Gray.
Renee Gray.
Yeah, she was just moved from executive director to, because it's such a need. It's such a need. She needs to be running the program, not having, because originally she was executive director and it fell under ed services. So she was, she was reporting to the ed services director, or I'm sorry, or, assistant superintendent. And so giving her her own path to be able to go. I mean, I think that's been a very, very good choice by, our superintendent and our board.
I got emotional over at the music, the choir event, because some of the special need kids were up there singing and had to be held up.
Right.
Which
comes to our special education aides. Like, we need more, but their job is they have a hard job. They have a hard job, and sometimes too they're overlooked. And so I think that's one thing that we really need to appreciate is that we have a lot of, we have a lot of our aides that are just doing phenomenal work.
It was the smile on the child's face when they were singing. Sorry, I get emotional just talking about it. I'm okay. But it was something else. I was speechless at the time.
Okay, look at Jess's comment.
Which one?
Renee Gray is phenomenal. As a parent.
Oops, sorry about that. There we go.
As a parent, as a parent of special needs child, I can say she's been an amazing resource for so many of us.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, the kids just need a good program leader, and it sounds like she's the person that needs to be there. Let's hit one more. Maria has really good questions. While attending board meetings, I've noticed many people leave right after public comment. Yes, they miss on listening to data reports, presentations, and executive cabinet and board members' reports. Not sure why this phenomenon takes place.
I can give you my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, even unfortunately the students who came in and talked about the protest, they spoke and ran out.
Yeah, they spoke. Quickly. Well, I think too, what it is it's a lot of it. What we've noticed in our last board meeting is that we had a ton of ex-union members and teachers who are members of the union, and I've never seen, usually there might be just like a couple rows of them, but there was a lot last time, and it seemed like it was like kind of one of those things where after everybody would speak from the union, like our teacher or whatever the message was, there was a lot of applause and stuff. But then what the sad thing was is like they were all there giving standing ovations to the kids who were gonna who were planning a walkout at Esperanza and other things. And but then once that was done, they just like everybody, a lot of them, not I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of them walked out. Yep. And so you miss what the actual, like you miss Dr. Cherniss's superintendent report where he's actually talking about facts and bringing facts that people were asking the questions for, in public comment. So I would just say that, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I would say that if you only come for the public comment to cheer on, to just cheer people on, and then you leave, like you're really missing the information. And then when the information comes, well, where did you get that from? You must be releasing that from closed session.
Yeah, you should have been there.
No, it's at the board meeting. So
yeah, it was part of the public comment from the district.
Right.
Jocelyn says you've been accused of violating the Brown Act by disclosing closed session info, you actually answered it just before you read it.
Yes. Yeah. That
Sorry
was
about
about yeah, you're right. And that was about, there's just so much information that goes on and so much, like obviously if, you hear something and you think it's going to be an employment issue, like we don't talk about it and stuff, but usually I do call like the one thing I was accused by somebody of, when the athletic director debacle was going on, when the athletic directors were all being fired everywhere. And then people were posting the athletic director positions. Like we actually had an ed join position. And so people were like, see, we told you they're going to be fired. I actually called the district and I said, hey, this is what they're posting. It's on ed join. Can I explain that the position went from 2 part-time teachers that were part-time in the classroom, part-time athletic directors, to 1 full-time position? And they said, yes, absolutely, you can explain that. So I, did a video and I also said it online, and then suddenly that was a Brown Act violation. But it was on EdJoin, and so it's explaining the position. And so, so that they said that was a Brown Act violation. But
okay, a couple more. I forgot I have actually a meeting that I have to get to. Forgot about that. This was so much fun. When the structure of the teaching at OCSCS is shown to be successful, can the model be replicated at the other schools without turning them into charters?
That's a great question. So I'm, the OCSCS has, I think it's 12% of their week or their day is going to be computer science. And so I think another thing too that people don't realize is that computer science is not just coding. Like, you're making apps, you're doing all this other stuff. So, so I would say that if, they're building a lot of like cool stuff over there. So I don't know if the funding would be there to be able to do that at every school site. But I think if you're talking about a model that could be replicated, I don't know, maybe you could go to, over to the computer science school. Like, if you're talking about like curriculum model, I'm not sure because they're using different things that the state, is that they don't necessarily have to follow like the public schools do. So that's a good question though. And I think that would be a great question for Beth Fisher or Dr. Cherniss.
Yeah. I'll get them one of these days. Karen's talking about the activists travel around from various school board meetings and bring chaos, and then they leave, mic drop, and then their true interest is learning facts, is not in learning facts. That is true. We've seen that from visitors from Cal State Fullerton, Chapman University.
The revolutionary communists.
Yes. Oh, that was great. Yes.
When they stood up tonight, I go, what in the world is happening here?
And they were supporters of Carrie Bucks. So that's good to know. Tom says, thank you, Leandra. Keep the good work up.
Thank you,
See,
Tom.
you said your name.
I
couldn't take credit for that.
Yeah.
As I would have. All right, my friends. We've been on for almost 2 hours. That is crazy.
That is nuts.
And
it didn't feel like 2 hours.
And we had so many people watching.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you again
thank
for
you.
For doing this. Thank you for your patience through all the things that are happening to you.
Yeah,
it is incredible.
All
right, my friends.
All right.
We love you. Take care.
Bye.
God bless.